Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Summer School. Today, we're here with Hannah Rosser. Pretty sure I'm saying that right. But Hannah, I've been following for a very long time, and we've been social media friends for quite some time. So if you don't follow her, go click in the show notes and go find her work. It's really cool. But let you introduce yourself. Tell us about where you're from, what you shoot, what kind of style you are, and just kind of what you've been up to these days.
Yeah. So I'm Hannah, and thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to finally see you. But yeah, I am an East Coast based wedding photographer. I do a lot of destination work. And then over the past few years, have really gotten into education with coaching and stuff like that. So kind of a mix of the two. I would say my work is a mix of digital and film and kind of leaning more into editorial right now stuff. But in general, just a little bit more creative, artistic than I used to be, at least. So yeah, it's a little bit of where I'm at.
Yeah, I was stalking your reels today. Well, I was just stalking you in general. I stalk everyone before we talk. And I saw one that was like my work when I started versus now. And I was like, oh, wow, it has changed a lot. Everyone's work, I feel like,
Yeah.
has changed a lot, but it's always fun to look at those reels, you know?
Oh yeah. It's been a very dramatic change, but for the better, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked on destination weddings with Kaylee, a few episodes back for anyone that's listening. And so we're not going to dive into destinations extensively, like destination weddings and stuff, but I want to hit on it anyways, just a little bit, Maybe people didn't listen to that episode, but you can always go back and listen to it if you want to. But I still want to ask you, what has been your favorite destination wedding? But before you answer that, what kind of got you into shooting destination weddings? So kind of both, but whichever one you want to start with, I feel like it'd be fun to know what got you into it. Why do you love it? I know even with her, it's hilarious because she doesn't love traveling. But maybe for you, you do like traveling. You do like seeing new places. Maybe you don't. But I'd love to know what kind of got you into the destination wedding space. And then, yeah, what was your favorite destination wedding you've done so far? And then we'll dive into the topic, which is kind of workflows, business. We're going to talk about maybe things that might not seem as exciting, but all of you need to hear.
Okay, so yes. So I would say I made a pivot in my business in terms of, like we just talked about, a massive shift between, I would say, really playful, fun, upbeat, really bright, happy imagery to really intentional storytelling, thoughtful, artistic imagery that resonated really a lot deeper with me and had a lot more meaning to what I was creating. I felt like a deeper connection. And I think at the time, there's always been photographers who have work that is not mainstream and what everybody's doing. But I think at the time, the way social media was working, I just had a style that not everyone was doing at the time. And so I think that when someone was finding it, they were like, oh my gosh, we have to have you. We have to fly you out. We have to bring you in because I can't find anything like you. And I think I was on the cusp of that before I would say a lot of photographers have, pivoted or changed or whatever. So I think what got me into that was truly being asked to travel. I never had thought about it being a part of my career, truly. I just loved working with couples and really cool weddings. And I was like, if, that takes me somewhere really neat, that sounds great. So my first wedding ever was in Mexico. But anyways, so
first
I would say
destination
that
wedding or first wedding you ever shot?
destination wedding.
I was like, wow, first wedding ever. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. But so that kind of pivot, I think, allowed me to, the opportunities were being asked of me versus seeking them out, which was really cool. And it opened up my eyes to the whole world of photography and what you could do with it and where it could take you. But so in general, I love new places. I love the actual being on the ground in a new place, experiencing things. I hate travel in general. I hate flying. I will do anything to avoid it, but I have to do it all the time. So kind of a bit of a bummer with my job. A lot of people are really surprised by that. But I just suffer through it. And then I'm on the ground and the happiest person ever. So, but it is a little funny in that way. But I would say this year, it was really cool. I got to go the farthest I've ever been with my business to Thailand.
Yeah.
And that just blew me away. I think in general, getting an inquiry for that far away of a wedding, like just blew my mind. And the client was like so cool. She herself has been this dancer for like major artists, singers, and stuff. And so I just think she's the coolest. I love watching her stuff. There actually was just a Netflix documentary that came out that she's in. So like I think she's so cool. And so we did that wedding in Thailand, and just everything about it, like, I mean, it's a beautiful place, beautiful culture. The people there were just the best. And I think it was just I don't know if I'll ever travel that far again, to be honest with you. I like definitely wanted to do it and try it. But I mean, like, it was like 2.5 days of travel to get there,
Yeah.
like 4 plane rides, a bus, a car, a boat ride to get there, like too much, in my opinion. But it was just so beautiful. And I just felt really thankful to have the opportunity to do something like that. And I think just standing there and looking around me, like, there are these insane cliffs. It's called Rayleigh Beach there. And it is like the most jaw dropping place ever. And the sun hits the sides of the cliffs, and it is just so cool. And their wedding was in like this grassy lawn area with palm trees and the cliffs behind it. And then the reception was in a cave, lit by candles on the beach. And like, it was just extraordinary, magical, every word you can think of. Like, I just stopped several times and just was like, this is so amazing. I just feel so blessed and really grateful to be here. And so, yeah, it was just a really neat experience.
Now, I actually don't know if I know the answer to this. Are you married?
Yeah.
Does your husband shoot weddings with you, or did you have to bring a friend or a second shooter all the way to Thailand with you? Or did you do it by yourself? I mean, I don't think I'd want to go all the way to Thailand by myself.
Yeah. So it
This is just
depends.
me
So,
curious. Curious summer is
mhm.
like, that sounds really intense if I was alone.
Yes. So in this instance, yes, my husband came with me. Anything international, most of the point, like, he comes with me. But he does sometimes second shoot. It depends. But he mainly does Super 8 films for me. So I don't necessarily advertise that a lot, but I do offer that to a lot of my couples. So the ones that book that, he does get to come on, which is really fun. So not every wedding, but
Well, that's
yeah.
amazing that he was able to come and you weren't in like the Philippines by yourself.
Yeah.
I always think about the logistical side of like those things. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, but it does not sound fun alone. But it also almost doesn't sound fun with like a stranger or like a second shooter that like, we'd have to be really good friends for me to want to like travel 2.5 days with
Yeah.
you, one
Mm-hmm.
way. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm like, that sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild though. I can't even imagine. Was there any points where you were like you said, you're like, I don't know if I would do that again? What
Uh-huh.
were the parts that made you think that? If you want to just, not that you're bad mouthing your like wedding there, but just, I feel like for so many, being a destination photographer, even a traveling photographer, whether it's international or inside the States, is like almost sometimes like over glamorized. You know what I mean? And everyone almost feels like, or at least there's been pushes in the industry where I feel like people have felt like I need to be this to like be successful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I oftentimes feel like, yeah, there's like the reality of, okay, sometimes it sucks in some capacities. You know what I mean? So what parts of it were you like, okay, maybe not? Was it just the fact that it was like so far away, or was it more of like even time zone, or like the amount of planes that are like booking that kind of travel? I mean, that's a whole nother beast. Like, you might can
Yeah.
book travel in America, but booking something that far away is like another level.
Yeah. So I would say it's kind of a tough question for this specific wedding. I have about a million other stories from other weddings.
Yeah.
This one, I feel like, so the bride herself, they live in Las Vegas, but they go to this resort in this area in Thailand all the time. So she was like very familiar with it coming from the US. So I feel like booking wise, it made a lot of sense. It was pretty clear. Like, she
Sweet.
was like talking me through the time zones and stuff, versus most other situations I have to do the research. I have to make
Yeah.
sure like who is picking me up, how am I getting there, all the little pieces. So there was, I feel like, a lot of like very helpful things along the way with her. I think the only one that was the really tough part about it was we had talked about everything. She had booked everything, or they had booked everything. And we had planned to get there to have, I normally come in like 2 days before a wedding. In this case, we had talked about it since I was staying on property, the cost of everything. It was like a 5-star situation. So really, kind of high end. And so we had decided I was coming in like basically with a day, 2 days before. And then they decided that they wanted me to shoot the welcome party. And the welcome party was the day I arrived, basically, in the evening. And then there would be a free day and then the wedding day. So we got there and we, after 2.5 days of travel, we are not looking cute, we're struggling, and we drop our stuff off, we change, and we have to go shoot the welcome party. And I think just after, we were in the air for, I think, a total of like 26 or 27 hours. So your feet and like your lymphatic system and, everything is like not the best at this point. So your feet are still kind of killing you, even though you've been sitting for so long, your circulation and just everything is a little funky. So, I mean, our feet, we just kept looking at each other and we were like, hold it together. Like, we can just make it through another hour and a half. Like, we're going to be fine. But it was really painful, honestly, like just trying to stand, and do all that. And then thankfully we had the day in between before the wedding. So we were totally fine by then. But I just was like, holy smokes, I will never set myself up to do that again. It's too much in one, whole trip. So anyways.
Yeah, I always like to raise the point of like, you probably are getting your travel paid for and you're getting paid to shoot the event, but you're not normally getting compensated much. And even if you are, it's probably not enough for the travel days that you are still not working. You know what I mean? So it's basically like working, but you're not home. You're not making money at home. Like you're literally traveling. Like, and I think so many people don't realize that part of like travel wedding photographers. It's like, yeah, I might get everything covered.
But what
and
about
it's
the pain?
cool, but like, it still puts a strain on. Even one year we traveled so much, I just got sick a lot. I think my immune system, like I was traveling a lot and like I probably wasn't resting adequately. I think every photographer goes through it where they take definitely too many bookings. And if you travel for a lot of your work, like, and you take too many bookings, I mean, that could just really derail your life. Me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we did like 35 weddings one year with 5 associates.
Oh my gosh.
And like all of them were trying, like probably like 90% of them were travel like within the States, but still like flying. Yeah, not good. I was so sick like all the time. So don't be like me.
Wow.
But yeah, let's dive into your educational side some though. So Hannah is, in my opinion, from observing from the outside looking in, I've seen a lot of her like digital product offers and things that come out and things that she talks about. And one of them is around Notion, which I know of because I feel like people, especially that are educating or doing things further than photography, do know of these softwares, but just photographers don't know of them that much. And even myself, even I haven't set up Notion for myself, even though I do have a business where I probably should at this point. But Hannah like uses it with weddings and has a guide for wedding photographers to use it in their business. And whenever I've talked to people that use processors like that, what would you call them? I know it's not a CRM, it's like a project manager would be what I'd call it almost. Yeah. Like using a project manager. I think that would be really smart. But there's CRMs as well, like Honeybook, which we've had an episode on. But, Notion, I think it'd be cool to talk about because one of even my coaching students, they always ask like, well, how would I use it as like not someone that's teaching or has this like really expansive business? How do I use it just like with wedding work? So everyone listening that's like wedding photographer, normal photographer, fashion photographer, whatever you are, I would love to hear your opinions on that and like how you use it in your business, because I think we all need to be a little more organized, me included.
Absolutely. Yes, I love this question because I think about a year and a half ago, I got on a kick just to get organized in every way possible in my business. I think it's the most important thing you could do, especially in off season, just to prepare yourself, because when you're in the thick of things, right, you just make things work and it's fine. And they will probably be fine until one day you wake up and you're like, I'm forgetting things. I'm confused. I have a million lists in different places. I don't know how this thing works. So I started looking into different project management tools, different things, researched all of them. So I've taken a look at, pretty much everything that's out there. And I do use HoneyBook as my primary, client intake and all of that. But Notion is definitely my second home base. It is something that I think every photographer could definitely use just for weddings, photo shoots, all that kind of stuff. So I think Notion is just a really cool tool because you can see things in multiple different views. So however your brain works, you could look at it in a calendar view. You could look at it in a list or a table or in a Gantt view, which is, a whole nother type of thing. But you can figure out the way that your brain works and then see the information. So for example, I take everything from HoneyBook and put it into Notion. So basically there's how there's those pipeline stages in HoneyBook, you can break down those things in Notion and figure out, what are the tasks that I'm doing for each of my clients? What do they need when? And I put that in there. But something about HoneyBook that I feel like there's a couple of limitations to are, if I want to know that I have a second shooter for a wedding or something like that, I want that information to be really easy for me to see. I want to, when I have an overview of that wedding day, I want to see what they booked. Did they add on film? Did they have a second shooter? Do they have a Super 8 film? Do they have, X, Y, and Z? I want to see it all in one place. And I don't want to have to click through all the things and all the pieces to find it into the contract, whatever. So there's that with events specifically in Notion. But what I did is I kind of looked at everything I do daily, weekly, monthly in my business and kind of made a section for it. So I have goals in my business, right? And I have them written in notes and in notebooks and whatever. So then I took that and put that into Notion and I was like, I really want to look at these and remember these and change them as I change, all that kind of stuff. I want to have tasks in there. I have an editing queue in there. So basically anytime a new project gets added, I know when I'm sending a preview gallery, I know I'm sending the full gallery and have that in one place. And I love that. I also keep a vendor database. So every time I work with someone that I love, I can add them in there and I don't have to go tracking that down. And then I also plan styled shoots inside of Notion. So I will take, let's say I have a shoot coming up. I can add in all the vendors. I can add in a link to a Google Drive if, or not Google Drive, sorry, a Google Sheet. If I want to do that, whatever, it's just all in one place. And I just think that's
Can you add the other people to look at it too? Or is it mostly oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's really nice.
For anyone listening, HoneyBook, there is a whole episode on it. But for anyone listening that hasn't listened to the episode, HoneyBook, in case we're talking or in case Hannah's talking and you're like, wait, I don't even know what HoneyBook is. HoneyBook is a client managing system. And basically, how I love using it is my contact form is embedded from my HoneyBook. So everything goes straight into HoneyBook. There's you can send invoices, contracts. You can do a lot in it. There's email templates, out of office, automated things. There's, you have a pipeline. You can connect it to your QuickBooks. There's honestly probably so much that they do that I'm not even doing. You know what I mean? But I've been using HoneyBook literally since the day I decided to quit my job and go full time. And I didn't even have bookings and I paid for HoneyBook. So I was like, I need to be at least organized in that sense, So I love HoneyBook, but for anyone listening, that's what it is. Other ones in the industry that might act similarly that maybe you've heard of or you're using and maybe you want to take a switch to HoneyBook, Dubsado, 17 Hats, Sprout Studio. I'm sure there's a million other things.
Studio Ninja.
Yeah, there's the list could go on. But yeah, HoneyBook is definitely, I feel probably the most I feel like I feel like everyone I talk to uses it. Like, I feel like it's the most industry standard right now. But yeah, it has integrations with PickTime now if you're a PickTime user. But yeah, just wanted to break it down for everyone that like maybe they're like, wait, what is she even talking about? Her honey book? Like, if you had never heard of honey book, you'd be like, what is this? You know what I mean? But yeah, Hannah, you might hate this. My weekly task, I write on sticky notes, and and I used to put them in my calendar, but then I had too many tasks, and my calendar, I'm like, I'm not even seeing these because now I have like 20 tasks a day. And Jake gets sticky notes, I get sticky notes, and normally I put them like on our kitchen table because office is like currently half nursery, half office, and he has his own office. So when we work together, we work at the kitchen table when we're like, we have like powwows is what I call them. And yeah, I put stars next to things that are the most important. And yeah, if friends come over, I literally just have to like move the sticky notes and like remember where I put them, or else I'm not going to know what I was supposed to do that week. So, someone like me probably should look into Notion, but I would have to really change my habits because I get a lot of fulfillment from ripping the sticky note off and throwing it away. So,
I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. That's honestly really funny. And a lot of people work really well that way. And I feel like you just have to know yourself. And if it works, it works. It was not working for me. And I would forget things or not find my sticky note, and then I'd be screwed. So
yes,
that's definitely why I went more, online with it.
When I used to write client information down, I used to also do that. Bad idea, Summer, because who knows what journal these would go in? Who knows where the paper went? So I had to force myself to get used to writing all notes from meetings in the Honeybook notes section, which is so good because then I can like say you don't talk to someone for like a year, which can literally happen with clients. It's like, I need to know what we talked about a year ago because I need to know who they are. I'm not going to remember that. Like, you're talking to so many clients, like, maybe I'll remember it, but most likely I won't, So yeah, I do utilize like the notes section in Honeybook now instead of writing it down because I got into like, shoot, I know nothing about this person. And I've talked with them before, but Notion would be better. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So if someone wanted to start so did you also, I know Asana is similar to Notion, right? What did you like more about Notion? Did you try both, or did you just like Notion enough to not even need to try Asana?
Yeah. So I could talk about this forever, but there's Asana, there's ClickUp, there's Trello, there's Monday, there's about
I've
a million.
used Trello before once.
Okay. I really don't like Trello, but again, it's personal preference. So I think I like Notion because it feels really clean. Everything is kind of drag and drop. Everything's editable, and their templates are really great. I just honestly liked the look of it, and like the way that my brain works, it just makes a lot of sense to me. And they all, again, probably do a lot of the same things, right? It's just one is maybe a little bit better with tasks, or one is a little bit better with organization, or one's better with like, it has a video recording option so that you don't have to. So it's, there's the in-depth of it is pretty crazy. But I think in general, like Notion just is really intuitive and also seems the easiest to me. The other ones can go you can do crazy things with them. You can do automations, like, and I think all those things are really great, but I just didn't want people to be, or I didn't want to be overwhelmed, honestly, when I was looking into making things for myself. And the more I just use Notion, I think it just made a lot of sense.
How does the template that you sell work? Like, are you able to basically just have that almost be like kind of like a Canva template where like someone, when they purchase it, can just put it in their Notion and they can just use it?
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool. Because I'm like, maybe I should use Notion, but you know what? I have no will, drive, or determination to want to set something like that up myself. No, and absolutely
it would be so hard. I mean, creating the template alone took me like over 3 months. So like, it's like, it's not an easy endeavor. Now, not every single person might love every single piece of it, right? Because the way you work or whatever. So I
you can edit it and stuff. Yeah.
You can edit it. You can rename everything. You can change order. You can delete whatever you want and don't use. Like, it's really, really cool in that way. But yeah, so again, just to recap, like I use Honeybook in every way that you just said, like proposals, contracts, invoices, like all of those things I house in HoneyBook. But then when I'm like trying to work on my client project, if I'm not sending them an email, then I'm like, okay, where are my tasks? Like, what is my workflow, and how do I do my like day-to-day stuff? And that's where Notion really comes in. So even in like Notion, I have a list for client gifts. Like, so if you're researching and you find great ideas, you can put them in there and then track if you actually sent the client the gift.
Yeah.
Things like that, it's like, yeah, you can figure it out for sure. But I just like having kind of a system for it, helps you remember it. Also have like location scouting. Let's say you go hike one weekend, you're like, I really want to save this pin and remember where this was and what time sunset was and where the mountain was. Like, have a template for that where, you can go in and put that information so that you can have every single place that you location scout in one area, So it's a lot about just like, I took it and made it as simple as possible, but as intricate at the same time for all the pieces of a business that you would use. So yeah, like travel planning. And then I also have like marketing stuff in there. So like if you're planning out an Instagram post for the week, and you're trying to remember what your caption's going to be and all the things that go with that. Again, like just keeping it in one place. So you're only checking maybe HoneyBook, your email, and then your Notion every day versus it being like, where did I put that? Yeah. Where's that thing that I wrote down that one time? So it's really helpful for me just to know and get more stuff done, honestly, in a faster capacity. Cause I'm like, I know what I'm working on today. I can check my one little task list in my emails and I'm like, awesome. I know I like covered it. I know that what was due today was done. So yeah.
That's genius. A thought that popped into my mind that I should ask you is with Notion and most project managers, you most likely can add team members. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can even add team members with HoneyBook. You can add team members with Notion, right? Like,
yeah.
I could have something that Jake also has and has access to. See, that would be good for anyone listening that has a partner in business with them or a team, or maybe you have someone that you like outsource your editing to or your culling or whatever. Like, culling is one where Jake does it, but sometimes when I'm doing like a final run through of the gallery, I'll be like, oh, like I feel like I'm missing like 3 photos, and I can like remember them off the top of my head of like, or like maybe there's a family photo where maybe for some reason he didn't catch like one person's blinking or something. And so I always just write it in a notes. And then I'm like, hey, can you go find these? But if we had a little Notion just like running thing going, I could just be like, hey, go find these 3 images. And he would just have access to whatever and then I don't have to like, write it down in my notes and then try and remember to tell him. And then genius. Watch me become like a Notion guru after this.
It'll be fun. It's really fun.
I feel like it'd be really good for people with team members or employees or assistants. And a lot of people have that, even at like not even large scale businesses. Like I know a lot of photographers who have like virtual assistants. I feel like it would be genius if you have a virtual assistant, because every time I've outsourced social media, podcasting, things like, virtual parts of my business, we've always just like kind of had I don't feel like there was a proper system for it. And then my biggest mistake I made in outsourcing was not having like, I wouldn't say like a handbook, but kind of a handbook. Like you could call it a handbook. I would like to have a handbook in my business that has like, here's all the softwares I use. Here's all the passwords. Like, here's how I use them. Here's how I talk. And having all of that ahead of time is going to save you so much money, because no one's going to just talk instantly like you. Like, no one's going to do the job perfectly if you don't prepare them for it. But I feel like I could totally have a little like guidebook and Notion that the person just gets access to of like, here's how all of this works. I could also make that in Canva, but that would be cool. But
I have a password manager, so it's funny you said that.
Yes.
I think, because it's like your business headquarters. Like, it's kind of like just, all the little pieces that go into running a business. When you like think about it, you're like, oh, I just like shoot, and whatever. But when you really think about it, there's all these like little things. And it just takes a lot of time. And then like you're saying, like I have an assistant, and like when I'm thinking about how to give her things or whatever, I can just add her to the password manager list and she can look at it, have access to all of it. And then I didn't have to create that now that she's hired, it's like I had that prepared for her, which is really, really nice. So a lot of bonuses for that, sure.
Sweet. Well, okay. So, how are other ways, since you are a little misorganized, what are some other ways that you feel like you have your like client workflow kind of streamlined in your business? If there are any you feel like we haven't talked about that you were like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if I had like even a number one tip, like for me, it's like I really love like my number one tip that people have probably already heard a million times, but I really love that my contact form is embedded from my Honeybook because it
Mm-hmm.
auto populates them into there and I'm not having to create their projects. And I'm way less likely to like miss inquiries because it's not going to my
Mm-hmm.
Gmail that gets like 50 emails a day. And it's
Mm-hmm.
technically going to both. It's going to Gmail and Honeybook. But, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing I love that I think is just like people should just enact, so that you're not like hand inputting things you might put in their email wrong and then they'll never get your Honeybook email.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like my thing that I like telling people. If you had something that you like telling people that you're like, hey, I think like if you just did this one thing, it would really change your life. Do you have something like that you like love?
Yeah. So that's actually a really good tip. I love the embedding form thing. It is definitely a lifesaver.
Yeah.
I would definitely say if you could take an hour, I know it's a long time, but if you could take an hour out of your day and write down your entire workflow for a wedding or a shoot from start to finish, it will help you figure out how you're serving your clients, where the gaps are.
Mm.
So, from start to finish, what is the service level they're receiving? What do you have to do on your end? The tasks it takes. Is it a lot of time? Is it not much time? Like, what is going in there? And I think that helps you figure out how you can better your services, how you can either create automations in Honeybook or use extra things like Notion just to make it easier on you. Because everything is repeatable. Everything, like, you can take one thing and if it works really, really great, you want to do that same thing again. So, for example, like a way that you would start that is someone inquires, right? And that when they inquire, you then have to send a response email, right? Within X amount of time. So your workflow step number one would be send an inquiry response email within 24 hours. And then maybe you do a follow up. So 2 days later, send a follow up email. So that would be like the second part of the workflow. Then let's say that they book, you send them contracts. That's a piece of it too. And they're officially booked. Then your onboarding starts. And it's like, what's a part of your onboarding? What steps are in there? Are you sending them emails? Are you sending them a client gift? And I think it just having it written down in a way of saying like, after they book, within 1 week, I'm sending them a client gift. Then know that that's your task within 7 days of booking, right? Versus being like, I just know at some point I need to send this. It gives you more structure.
And then you procrastinate and then you never send it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It just allows you to, and then that's maybe where you'll find out, like, maybe I should add in some level of support or care for the client. Like, and a lot of times that's when I figured out when I wrote down my workflow, I was like, there's like a 6-month gap in a lot of my weddings where their wedding's a year away and we don't talk for like 6-ish months and I don't really support them. I just let them know, like, if you need anything, let me know. And that's where I was like, I want to change that. I want to add in something that gives them touch points, gives them support, resources, whatever, to continue that level of service that I want to provide. So I think just writing it down really helps you identify where you're at. Also, maybe helps you figure out, like, oh, I need to work on my emails or whatever it is, like kind of creating email templates or whatever that you can use as a starting point. That was just really helpful for me.
Do you have any other advice for anyone that just might need to like start with implementing systems in general? Like if there's anything else you want to tell people, you totally can. I think even in my own mind, while you were saying all that, I was like, yeah, I think a lot of people just think that their business isn't complicated enough to need that. But then hearing you say, well, that gap, it's like you don't know what you're missing unless you actually sit down and allow yourself to think of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was
Mm-hmm.
actually genius. Like, I'm like, I kind of want to write down our workflow and see if there's any gaps. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that was really smart. But yeah, any other systems you're like, people should have these or people should be aware of this that you want to touch on, I'd love to hear. But even if that was like the only thing you want to tell us, I'm like, hey, that's honestly genius. Everyone should take that hour, write down your workflow and see if it's actually even that good of a workflow. Because I think for so many people, they get so overwhelmed with shooting and trying to book things and editing, especially
Yeah.
editing. They're like, well, I have a lot to edit. And I'm like, but that's not your whole business, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Shooting is
Mm-hmm.
not your whole business, you know, and your clients deserve to like have a good experience with you. And so if you're too worried about editing that you're pushing every other task in your business 2 months until you're caught up on your editing queue, I think that's a problem, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's all about balance. I think maybe, I mean, I touched on this a little bit in that, but I think email templates are such a lifesaver.
Mm,
And about 3-ish months ago, I went through and like cleaned mine out, redid them, whatever. And I think that that's just such an underrated piece of workflow that if you number them or alphabetize them or whatever you need to do to get them in order
mm-hmm.
for a wedding from start to finish, then even though a lot of people I think are against it because they're like, oh, it feels
It's not
gross. Like,
personal.
it's not personal. Well, I'm like, well, what happens is you go 6 months without talking to your client because you don't have somewhere to start with. You forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
You are overwhelmed with what's going on at the time. And you're like, how could I don't even know what to say. And it just is a great starting point. You can change, you can customize every email when you go to send it. But if you at least have a structure built in, it actually allows you to just have more freedom, I feel like. And there's also this beautiful little thing called scheduling emails. So you can click that button and schedule it for a different day. So when I
Mm-hmm.
do onboarding with new clients, they have 4 emails scheduled the first day they book, and they're
Mm.
scheduled for the next month. But it's giving them support that, I went in, looked at the email template, customized it a little bit for them, changed whatever I needed, but then I know for the next month they are taken care of. And I'm sure we'll talk, I'm sure we'll check in other ways, but I know that they are 100% taken care of because I took the time to create those templates and then like set it up and then schedule them. So, anyways,
Yeah, and even
again,
if
it
you
takes a
don't
little
want to
time.
have them like automatically going out because it scares you that maybe for some reason that person won't need to, maybe they're going to be anal and want to talk to you about family photos a month into their wedding planning. So your family photo thing that would go out 6 months into their planning, maybe it didn't need to be sent and you would forget to take it out if it was automated. Just have the templates. And then as long as you
Mm-hmm.
have it in your little workflow that you're going to send the templates,
Mm-hmm.
then you're still sending them, but you're not having to write them. Like even down to like the fact that I don't know how I didn't realize this, but in PickTime, well, I don't know if you what gallery delivery service you use, but I use PickTime. And in PickTime, you can create email templates for like sending galleries, sending them to vendors, sending them to your clients. And every time I'm like, what do I say again? Oh yeah, like grab like a cup of coffee and wine, like enjoy your photos. Oh, I love you guys. And it's like basically I'm saying the same thing every single time, but I didn't have it as a template in their thing. And sometimes Jake's sending it, sometimes I'm sending it, and I'm just repeating myself like every single time. And so when I took a call with PickTime a while back, they were like, you do know that you can just make that a template. And I was like, they're like, you actually can make your whole gallery a template. And I was like, hold up, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, like you can, like,
Mm-hmm.
you could already have like what sections there are
Mm-hmm.
and what like automations for sales are going out. You can have all that pre-selected for like wedding, engagement, this, that. And I was like, what? This is so cool. So yeah, even that I'm like, yeah, in off season, I want to like deep haul into even my pick time and set more things up. But like the initial thing of like sending the sneak peek in the gallery, like those should be a template. And then I can always add like 5 words if I want to say like, oh, like love you guys. Like it's still personal, but there's no reason to be regurgitating yourself every single time when you're going to say the same thing to
Mm-hmm.
almost every single client, you know, when it comes down
Yeah.
to things like that. So that was like a cool area of templates. Even I didn't think about that. I was just literally saying, like, having to type it every single time. And I was getting annoyed with myself for having to type it every single time. I could have had it in like a note somewhere. Yeah, like Jake has like a spreadsheet of like our actual emails because he emails for us and answers inquiries. But for some reason, the pick time one wasn't there. So I was just always because it was my job, I guess. He's more organized than me, I guess. And I was having to type it every time. And I was like, man, yeah, put in the email templates in pick time. Like, why not? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you use pick time, implement that. And you can actually template your whole type of service as well. If you do families, engagements, weddings, whatever you do, you can have like different things preset for the different things. Like I'm always going and like changing the settings, like the what resolution images, you can go preset all of that, like inside your galleries. So
there's about a million things. I've been working on pick time as well, like the back end of it, and I just found out that you could do the template as well.
Yeah,
and
I did not know that.
Nice.
I don't know why I didn't know. I probably just I don't dig that deep, you know.
But and now HoneyBook has it set up that when a new client books, it creates a new gallery inside of pick time.
I know. I need to link my HoneyBook in pick time. I haven't done it yet.
It's a great feature. Even though, I mean, they're sitting there and it's for clients next year. I love it because they're named like my project in HoneyBook. They have the right date, everything. So it's pretty awesome.
No, yeah. I think that was a genius partnership on those ends. Like the best of the best. If you don't use pick time, I can try and attach a link to signing up for pick time below and HoneyBook. And we can attach Hannah's like Notion templates and all the things. This is just going to be like a big, like, come get whatever you need for your business episode.
I love it.
But yeah, what would be your favorite not server, but if you had a favorite app that you use in your business, and it could be Notion or HoneyBook. I feel like mine might be HoneyBook or pick time or something. But if you had a favorite thing you use in your business, would you be able to choose one? Like if you just were like, hey, I love this software with my heart.
It's a good question. I think app-wise, I mean, I love Notion and HoneyBook have great apps and they work really well. So I would say I use Notion as an app a lot, which is really, really great. And you can favorite stuff. And then also with the whole widgets on iPhone, you can now make your Notion top list, or you can make the template or whatever your main thing. So if you click on it, the widget, it just opens up to that one.
Genius. She's organized on her phone too.
I love organization. I think it's so fun.
I need you to come to my house and help me out. I'm kidding.
I'm not that way in like every single aspect of my.
Do you have a favorite app for like social media or things? Like, do you have any favorites in that regards? How do you plan your feed? Do you do that in Notion or do you do that in Nav?
Gosh. Okay,
do you plan your feed? Is that part organized?
So, actually, funny enough, I have never planned my feed ever until now.
I'm actually so surprised.
I, for the first time, am trying out Preview and seeing how I like it. I honestly like using Canva and just making a little grid and plopping them in there since it's free. I pay for the pro version, but Canva, in theory, if you use the free version, would be free. But Preview's not that expensive. But I am trying it right now because I do teach people all the time how to plan their feed in coaching, which is so funny. But I have never cared, to be honest with you. It is something that I always pick my first image and I'm like, I love this one and it's going to be what's next. The only thing I ever cared about was not posting too many black and whites beside each other. But past that, it was a free for all.
Yeah, I've never automated like my captions or like I've never automated the post actually going out by itself. And I also know there was always like conspiracies of like, does that affect engagement when it's being posted from like a third party and stuff? And it just doesn't take me that long to post it. But I have always used planning apps like probably since I was like 16, whether it be for like different people I was working for or for myself eventually. So I've always used planning apps in some capacity. When I was younger, I used Unum a lot. And I like the pro to Unum that I liked was that there was like the little shuffle button. So I could select 12 images and just shuffle it until I felt like it looked aesthetic. You know what I mean? Just
That's
it was
kind
like
of a genius
it was almost like
feature.
a toxic little puzzle, you know what I mean? Whereas with
Yeah.
Planoly, you have to click and drag, and I find that so annoying. And I know it's like the smallest thing, but if all you're doing is trying to plan the aesthetics, like shuffling, and then you're like, oh, those tones look good next to those tones. Okay, now I can shuffle the next one. And I would literally just like shuffle them all the time. I do a new shoot, shuffle them around. And yeah, I've always enjoyed having a planning app of some kind. I think I probably pay for Unum and Planoly right now for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because I was trying to help my husband plan his like band page at one point.
Oh, that's so funny.
But I've never planned as extensively as captions for anyone listening, because I always feel like captions too, for my brand, they're pretty personal. And so I don't want to plan them ahead of time, because I'm not talking about like wildflowers and sunshine. Like it's like what's going on in my life, you know, or like what's going on in the business as it is today. So I'd rather it be current, because I also think that kind of caption is also going to have more engagement, because it's going to be more intriguing, because it's real. You know what I mean? I'm not putting shade on anyone that plans out their captions, but I've always planned the photos, because I just think I would be less likely to post if I felt like I had to figure out what session to post. And so having just like the header image chosen, then I can always go like, okay, today I'm going to post. Okay, cool. Next photo is this. Okay, I can figure out how to make a caption out of that photo from like 2 years ago. Let's do it. And so I think it's just an easier way to like get me to do it, because it eliminates me needing to think about, what photo might go next, because sometimes you might be sharing things from that are older, or like I'm not always sharing like current work. Sometimes I'm sharing things from like 6 months ago because it looks cool, or people haven't seen it in a while, repurposing content. So yeah, I like planning apps, but I don't like use them to their fullest potential, but I think it's better that way.
Yeah, and now you can actually schedule in Instagram. So I think that's a huge bonus for people that kind of worry about the whole posting through a third party or whatever. But I am actually planning my feed now. But again, I haven't posted since August. So
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know. I've taken a wild break from social media this year, but I have been playing around with my feed, which has been really fun, because I have literally like 6 months of work that I haven't shared. So
that you're gonna have like all the content.
I have so much. I don't even know where to begin.
Excuses now.
Literally.
Well, maybe we end on balance and stuff then. You took a pretty big break from social media, and you said you're good at balancing your personal life and work. So I'd love to hear about what that journey was. Did you have to learn how to balance because you got burnt out? Have you always been pretty good at balancing? What would you say for the photographer that's currently like, man, I don't know how to handle my life. This is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, unfortunately, I feel like I was kind of forced to pull back from a lot of things, not because of burnout in my career, but I guess I can share this
It's up to you.
publicly. I'm trying to think. I guess I don't mind, because it's not necessarily anyways. My parents walked through a divorce over the past year, and that has definitely rocked my world in a lot of different ways. And I've actually never shared that, so it's kind of crazy, but it's official. So I feel like I can say that, and I think it's just made me think about, not in any way like them reflecting on my relationship or anything like that, just more so like the people I just really care about and the things that I really care about, and how much boundaries are a really healthy, great thing, and how much I love and respect my parents, and have been just trying to figure out how to navigate that. I think has forced me to take a big step back in terms of a lot of just showing up and different things, and that I think this year was a lot about, spending time and investing in people that I really love, and just saying like, I'm going to trust that the work that I put in my business is going to pay off. And even if I'm not showing up on social media, that the Lord is still going to provide, and that maybe the planners that I've invested in and different things will reach out and offer me weddings and things like that. And the Lord has provided in really cool ways, I feel like, this year. And even though I haven't shown up in the ways that I think I would have loved to, it's definitely intentional and purposeful. and not necessarily because I've been burnt out from my job. I would say I've been really purposeful on taking on the amount of weddings I feel like I can handle, which for me is like between like 16 to 18 a year. So, in that regard, I feel like I've been really thankful and blessed that that's where I was during kind of all this happening this year. So, I think in general, balance is just such a healthy thing for a business owner, because when things like this happen, like that, you can still handle them and be able to, still like really enjoy life and be with the people you love. And for me, I think, social media is something that's such an awesome tool. And I think that people just get really hung up on it. And I've gone in seasons where I've gone really hard on social media and shown up all the time. And it was awesome. And it did pay off in a lot of ways. And then in this year, I've just taken a backseat to social media and kind of cheered on other people while they're doing things. But that's not necessarily been my outlet. And I've just been serving my couples really well in the back end and shooting a lot of things that I cannot wait to share, but I just haven't publicly shown them, and done a lot of cool things. I actually shot my first full wedding on film this year, which was really cool.
So fun.
Yeah, so I feel like there's been a lot of really fun, life-giving things happening that I think I've just chosen not to fully share, even though I know others would be probably really great and supportive and all of that. I think I've just leaned into the people that are around me and being a little more present in this season, especially with just needing support from people I love and all of that. So yeah, I feel like it's just, I think, kind of making sure that you, one, are kind of set up in a place in your business that, if you have a rocky season or you need to take a break, that it's not going to cost you everything, I think is really important. The sustainability of it is really important. And on the other side, like putting people in your life that you really love and value is really important. And that you're set up in a way that you still can serve your clients to the fullest of your ability in the midst of something that's still hard. Because truly anything can happen, right? Like no matter what, could be you, could be someone external to you. You could have a baby. Like there's just a million things. And I feel like, yeah, there's a million things you could say with that. And so it's really good to prepare for those things, I feel like.
No, for sure. And I think it's hard in our industry seeing, with every coaching program, with every mastermind, and with half of them being income driven and half of them being like very like, I feel like they like to say they're not hustle culture, but very like hustle culture driven. Like, just, I don't know. I just feel like the industry is in a place where the education that's being given is not bad, but the mindset around it sometimes is not realistic. And I think it can lead to a lot of like negative things, like people not having time for their personal life, thinking they need to make X amount to be successful, thinking they need to pursue this, that, and that, thinking they need to like be the master in like 20 different marketing avenues, like thinking, and I'm like, guys, like think about it a little differently. Like if you think about it, about maybe 5 planners and 5 venues, having them on your list, okay, 10 people, you only need 20 bookings, like they're having over 100. Like it can be dumbed down as simple as, something like that. And I don't want to make it sound like it's simple to book weddings, but in the sense of like, I think we're just fed like you need this and that, and you need Pinterest, and you need to be successful in this avenue and that avenue. And it's like, I just feel like so many photographers feel like it's so overwhelming, and then they don't prioritize their boundaries or having a sustainable business in any way, shape, or form. Like sustainability, like is kind of what you're getting on. Like it's so important to have a sustainable business, or it's really just not going to last. And I think some of the mindset around a lot of what is given in the industry, I think does lead to a lot of the statistics of a lot of wedding photographers don't really last more than like 5 years. Because they're not building like realistic businesses with healthy boundaries, and trying to also focus on their personal life and making sure that they are investing in that as well. There's seasons where, yes, you might need to invest in your business. And I think I went through like, I love working so much that I didn't spend as much time in my personal life. So I learned it the hard
Yeah.
way of like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is not who I am. I need like
Mm-hmm.
friendships that aren't photographers. I need
Yeah.
community. We all need community. And I took a big shift. When we first hit LA, it was like my yes season, like of saying yes to like basically anything I was invited to. And I did not do that when we lived in Washington because I was so busy working. And I was like, this has to change because it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter how much I'm making or how my business is doing if I'm not happy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And money is not the only thing that makes you happy, you guys.
It's so true. And I think I learned this year I value my time so, so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to serve my clients so, so well. And I want them to feel like I have time for them. So if I don't have time in my calendar, I cannot be serving them
Mm-hmm.
well. And yeah, so, and I think too, like you just touched on, I feel like a lot of people get lost in their business and they lose their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And all they are is a photographer or an educator or whatever. And at the end of the day, my business is something I'm so proud of and I'm so thankful for. And it's a big blessing and a gift. But a lot of people in my life around me in my day-to-day life that are not photographers couldn't really tell you what I do besides shoot weddings. And they love my work and they think it's fun and they'll compliment me on it, but they don't understand the skill level that goes into it. And, they know so much more about me than my photography side. And I love that. And I think there's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of value to that.
And you need
And,
that.
and I don't ever want to lose that. And I think, at the end of the day, like it's so fun being a photographer, right? But who's to say that in 20 years from now, I could potentially not be a photographer?
I think there might be maybe you'll still be a photographer. I think there's a highly likely chance you might not be a wedding photographer.
mm-hmm,
There's like so much on your body, on
mm-hmm.
your like physical body. I've asked people that literally at my own workshop before. I was like, raise your hand if you think you're going to be a wedding photographer in 20 years. I don't think anyone raised their hand.
I don't think I
And I
really
was like, so
want
what
to
are you guys
be.
planning to do? And they're like, I have no idea. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
we should think about that.
Yeah.
We should think about that
Yeah.
a little bit, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah, and I like you said the hustle, the grind, like all these
mm-hmm,
things. And there's good in all seasons. Like, right? If you
mm-hmm.
have a season where you can do that and you can go all in and you're doing great
Or
and
maybe you have
enjoying the heck
to.
out of it. Yeah, and maybe you have to. You need the income and you really aren't, getting bookings and you feel the pressure. I understand absolutely, and I think that people have to do that and I've been there before. So I totally understand that. But I think there's also seasons where you can take a step back and reevaluate things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really healthy and really good.
Yeah. And I think just learning that I take it back. I don't think people need to be in that season. I think there is a season where you do need to work hard, but I still think you should find a way to have balance even in that season because I don't think it's actually necessary to like kill yourself and not have community because you are working that hard on your
Yeah.
business. Like I think your business, a wedding photography business, I think we are blessed in the sense that it is a higher ticket item that a lot of people want to book and a lot of people want to hire. And I think for everyone listening, you need to remind yourself you are blessed to be an art form that is willing to pay you this much if you
That's
put
true.
in the right kind of marketing efforts. And with the right efforts, you will see success. Like just give it some
Mm-hmm.
time,
Yeah, for sure. I think that's very true as well. Yeah, you never want to forget to put people in your life, like, and have a community of some sort because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're going to be feeling like you're doing it alone. If you don't have the support and encouragement you need, yeah, it's going to be really, like, probably 10 times harder. For
It's like
sure.
therapy session with Summer and Hannah now.
I know, we've got like, I love it.
Oh, balance, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good for people to hear things like this though, because I love talking about it because I think it is hard. Especially newer photographers are going to be the ones that are pushed the ads for the programs or the coaching or the masterminds that are ran at like a financial basis. And I always like to think too about the fact that like what I need to make in LA versus what I would have needed to make
Mm,
if I was in Georgia is very different. And so
mm,
what might look successful on a ad or a banner might not even be able to get me to afford health insurance here. Like, and what someone might have hit in their overall revenue, you have no idea what they're actually bringing home in income. They could have only brought home 20 grand. Like, you just don't know how much they're spending. Maybe they're
Yes.
running ads. They may have spent a ton of money to hit that revenue goal, and you don't know what that is. So don't fall trap to like all these ads and all these things that make you feel like you're not doing enough. If you're living comfortably and you're hitting the goals for your business, at the end of the day, you need goals and you need to try and hit them, but they need to be your goals. They don't need to be the goals of someone else, you know? And yeah, I feel like I could go on forever now. We just opened a big can of worms.
I know. It's such a good topic. I love that. I mean, yeah, it's like, it's so true. You never know behind the scenes, and you don't know why that goal is the way it is. Maybe they're trying to build a house. Like, you just don't know. And like, and you already own a home. Like, why would you need that? You know, it's just different. So
100%. Well, tell everyone what you're up to in next year, which is exciting, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with like Italy ?
Yes. Yeah. I'm really excited. So yeah, I have weddings on the books, a lot of education stuff. And then I am co-hosting a workshop in Tuscany, Italy with Kaylee Taylor for next June 9th through 11th. And I'm so excited about it. It is focused on weddings and bridal and all of that at some really gorgeous venues. And I'm just really excited. We have an amazing team. We have Mujari Creative with us, and we have a stylist, and just a lot of really cool things going on for it. And I just feel that this is going to be really game changing for whoever comes. I think it is definitely going to be great for your portfolio, but also in general, just fun to meet other photographers who are either in or want to be in the destination space, and hear from both Kaylee and I, as well as a planner who does a lot of destination stuff. I think it'll definitely be a great place just to get questions answered and meet people, connect, and then also just walk away with some amazing images. So,
and when do tickets go live? Do you know?
So yeah, we haven't launched them yet, obviously, and probably will not launch them until the start of next year. We are planning on locking in 2 more vendors basically before we launch them, because this is a large investment for us, and we want this to be as close to what we know. We want the cost to be exactly what we need it to be, basically, when we launch tickets, to make sure that everything is covered and whatever. So we are really excited for it, but just have a couple more pieces to make sure that it's going to be the best thing it can be. So
I was just making sure tickets wouldn't be out before the podcast was out. But yeah, they both, I don't think they will be. We're not that far batched. So you guys might be listening to this like late December-ish, but the wait list will be linked below. If you haven't already joined it from Kaylee's episode, join it now. That way you're notified, because I heard there's a lot of people on the wait list. So these tickets probably are going to sell really fast. So you guys hop on the wait list. I mean, I would love to go to something like this. So definitely hop on the wait list if you want to do like destination stuff. It sounds so fun. Do you have anything else coming up you want to tell people about? If there is anything? Or where to find you. They can find you in the description and show notes. But if you want to just tell them in case they're listening in the car, like Instagram, website, all the things.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram, Hannah Rosser Photography, and hannahrosser.com is my website. And I do offer a lot of education stuff, so please be on the lookout for some fun stuff coming next year. Also have a lot of fun digital products just to kind of help you up level in the meantime. And yeah, just a lot of destination stuff coming up for next year that I'm really excited about. Shooting a lot of film, a lot of fun things with that. And yeah.
End us on like your favorite film camera you're using right now. I always love asking like a random question at the end.
Okay, so.
But this won't be a can of worms. I'll just ask if you have a favorite right now, which one would it be?
Okay, so I have a lot of different film cameras, and I'm going to say one that is so affordable and easy for anyone to use because I think it's just a blast, is the Holga 120.
Yes.
I think it is such a big thing in the industry right now, and it requires pretty much no technicality to shoot the thing, and you get some really cool images from it. I think it's a really fun, like, dip your toe in kind of thing. Very quirky, thing that every time you shoot it, you don't exactly know what you're going to get. And I kind of love that. And I think it's a fun little touch to galleries. So yeah.
Fun. And do you use the 120 or the 120N? I use the 120 because I want to be able to use my own flash because I don't like the flash that's built into the
Yes, I
120N.
use the 120. I do not use the built-in flash.
Which is even cheaper for all of you listening.
Yep.
So, okay, I always love to ask because I tried the 120N first and I was like, this flash sucks. And the quality of the lens is not really changing much. And so, yeah, I use the 120 with my own flash on it. That way it's more powerful.
It. Yeah. What flash do you use?
I actually use my contacts flash on
Same.
all of my cameras. I'll just change the distance.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah. That's hilarious.
I'll just like pop it in between. I'm like, I could buy another flash, but honestly, it works to pop it in between because if the Holga's in the middle of my neck, I'd almost rather it not have a flash at all times anyways. That I'd rather just like take it off and on because it falls like off my, it would fall easier, like twist around my harness easier if it had a flash just living on it. But yeah, I use my TLA 200 on my G2 and my Holga.
Oh, I love it. Yep. Yeah. That's perfect.
Easy. And set it to like 45 on the Holga, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yep.
That's
we just gave away the real tips and tricks if anyone wants to know. That's like key knowledge right there.
Just get yourself a $40 camera and you're set.
$40 camera. I mean, what the funny part is though, we're using like a $multi-$100 flash on it, but
I know.
You don't need that flash,
it does. Though. Yeah, it does produce amazing results if you already are using a contacts.
Yeah, and it's very
which
simple,
is really cool.
Very easy.
Yeah,
easy flash.
But you can get a $20 flash off of Amazon, whatever, off brand. That works great too.
Go ahead and just stock up on the Holgas. They are literally a piece of plastic. So I always have when I've bought them, just buy like 3 or 4 and I just have them in case one breaks.
No way!
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, I have had them break and like they're really just like a piece of plastic. So yeah, I bought 3 or 4 and what was funny is last year when they did get popular, they also sold out. And so I was like, haha, suckers, I have 4 of them. So go ahead if you're buying them. Maybe don't buy 4. See, this is the organized side of me that is organized, but maybe buy like 2 or 3 because I also like having black and white and color. And even if I leave one in my bag, I like having the option of both. So I'll just put like a piece of tape, like a black tape on the one that has black and white in it. If I can't tell based off of what film it is, some film you can tell which one's black and white, which one's color. But yeah, I think Holga on black and white, not a ton of people do, but I think it's a vibe because then it looks almost like film footage. It's like very messy on purpose, you know?
It is. It's so fun. I swear every time I get it back, like I love those scans so much. What is your favorite film stock that you use with Holga?
I mostly use Portra 400. Wait, with the Holga or just in general in my life?
Holga.
Oh, with the Holga. I still use a good bit of Portra 400, but I use HP5 with black and white. And I know there's cheaper black and white options. I'm just a creature of habit. But yeah, that's what I use black and white wise. I normally use 400 speed. It's what I felt like gives me some of the best results, but I haven't experimented with much else because I really am a creature of habit when it comes to film. So do you have a favorite? Are you using something else?
That's funny. I use those 2 film stocks for Holga specifically just because I'm like, I know this is what it's going to do. It's going to like in terms of look at least. But I do like, I only pretty much use Holga in like full sun, or with flash. So,
so since it is, literal piece of plastic where you're not able to control anything, it is, I'm pretty sure like a f8. And so you have to take that into account. If I were to use Kodak Gold 200, like it's going to have to be very sunny. So I think 400 is just the safest film to use in Holgas, in my opinion, given the aperture. And don't quote me on the aperture because I'm pregnant. We've been talking for an hour. I'm pretty sure it's f8, could be f5.6, but it's not. No, I'm pretty sure it's f8. Yeah. So, you got to account for the fact that your aperture is really high, which is why your photo most likely won't turn out if you're not using flash and it's not bright outside.
And then I do use gaffer tape on the sides.
I have not actually needed to use it much, but I did it in the beginning because I was scared based off of watching YouTube videos that I would have all these light leaks and stuff. I've never had light leaks, so I actually don't even use it. So I probably my first couple times using the Holga had it taped up, and then probably just tried it without. I have no idea why, but when I realized nothing bad, there was no light leaks or any light coming through, I was like, well, it's inconvenient to have tape on it when I'm on a wedding day having to change it fast.
Yeah.
And mine, maybe I got lucky. don't have
That's
any
awesome.
issues without tape. So
That's
maybe
perfect.
test it ahead of time, because
Mhm.
I could just have like a lucky batch of cameras, because
You might.
a lot of
Yeah,
people do
that's
tell you
fun.
to tape it. So I'm sure there have been people that have had issues.
Oh yeah. I think in general, I get a few light leaks here and there. And if it's just a particularly sunny day where I'm like, I'm going to be outside all day shooting with my
Tape it
Holga,
up.
I just throw on some tape. But if I'm shooting flash indoors, I don't really use it. If it's,
My Fusion's
maybe
breaking
even
a little, so I have to tape part of it because it's like cracking some. Just
classic with the
unfortunate.
Holga.
But film,
Yeah. Makes it a
Yeah.
little fun. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a favorite of
I
mine.
love that. I love how we were like, we're not going to go down this can of worms. And then we both just like talked about it. But oh my gosh, it's been so good to have you on. And yeah, for everyone listening, I know she already said her information. Go find it all. It'll all be in the show notes and descriptions. You can easily click on over to anything we've talked about, the Notion guide, Instagram, website, a wait list for the workshop. So yeah, everything will be there. But yeah, if you guys are still listening and you want to go ahead and review or share this with a friend that you think would find this valuable, that needs to get organized in their life, do it. It helps me bring on more amazing guests like Hannah. And I can't wait to talk to all of you next week. Thanks so much for joining us, Hannah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, everyone.